CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I discovered a book on the dark web that predicts the deaths of friend and family, posted by you/throwaway no hope 69. Alright, before I start this story, I just want to say, I'm not the kind of person who believes in weird paranormal crap. Ghosts, number, aliens, maybe, but not little green dudes stealing cows. Psychic books from the dark web. Yeah, sounds like a Reddit creepypasta, right? But I swear to God, everything I'm about to say actually happened to me over the last 6 months. And it's still happening. I don't even know how much longer I have. I've made this throwaway account because I can't post this on my main. I have family that follows me, and I don't want them getting caught up in what I've dragged myself into. So yeah, buckle up. Let's rewind to March this year. Part 1. The book. It started in the most boring way possible. I was on Discord with my 2 best friends, Jace and Amira, just vibing after a long night of doing nothing, like literally playing Valorant, getting clapped, trash talking, repeat. Around 2 a.m., Jace randomly said, "Yo, have you all ever actually been on the dark web? Like, really?" Now, Jace is the type of guy who swears he's been on every part of the internet, but in reality, he just watches too many iceberg videos on YouTube. You know the ones, like YouTube Iceberg Explained, with 500 levels of curse videos and secret MK Ultra mind control programs. Anyway, Amira rolled her eyes, and I laughed it off. But Jace wasn't joking. He was dead serious this time. He told us he'd found a private forum on Tor with a weird book that apparently reads you. Like, it tells you stuff about yourself you haven't even told anyone. He said he didn't buy it, just screenshotted the listing because it looked like some Death Note type shit. I remember him saying, it's called Obituarex or something Latin like that. Creepy as hell, but it's only like $40 in Bitcoin. I might actually cop. Naturally, I told him not to. Amira was even more direct. She said, "Bro, you buy that and your name's gonna be in it next." I laughed. We all laughed, and we moved on. Or so I thought. 1 week later, Jace went MIA. Not like ghosted us for a bit. I mean full on, digital disappearance. His phone went straight to voicemail. Snapchat, inactive. No Discord activity. Instagram stories, gone. We thought maybe he got grounded or something, but he's 21 and lives alone in a studio apartment in Chicago. Amira and I started getting worried by day 3. By day 5, we called his mom. She said she hadn't heard from him either, and that she'd called the cops. On day 6, they found Jace, dead, in his apartment. The report said he died of natural causes, but the weird part, he was found sitting at his desk, eyes open, no wounds, no pills, no drugs, no sign of anything, really, except a laptop open in front of him, frozen on a single black screen with red text that read, "He knew what he shouldn't." That's not even the worst part. The police never found the file that produced that screen. not on his laptop, not on any backups. It was like it never existed. They ruled it as a heart attack. A 21-year-old with no history of any heart condition. Yeah. BS. The package. 2 days after the funeral, a cardboard Amazon box showed up at my apartment. I figured it was the hoodie I ordered from a streetwear site. But when I opened it, it wasn't a hoodie. It wasn't anything I ordered. It was a black book, leather-bound, no title, no barcode. Inside the first page, in small handwritten ink, it said, "To the next reader, do not skip ahead. The book already knows who you are." I flipped a few pages. Every page was filled with handwritten entries, names, dates, places, and one line of detail under each. They were like obituaries, short and cold. But then I saw a name that made my stomach drop. Jason, Jace, Waller. Date, March 27th, 2025. Location, Chicago, Illinois. Cause, fatal arrhythmia triggered by psychic stress. Last thought, I shouldn't have bought it. I nearly dropped the book. I wish I had. Weird stuff starts happening. I texted Amira immediately and told her everything. She came over that night. We flipped through the book together. Most of the entries were names we didn't recognize. But when we reached the most recent pages, we found her name. Amira Green. Date, April 12th, 2025. Location, Anaheim, California. Cause, blunt force, trauma. Last thought, this isn't real. Amira thought it was a sick joke. She accused me of faking it, printing it, trying to scare her. I couldn't convince her otherwise. She left that night and blocked me on everything the next day, and I didn't hear from her again until April 13th. The news said a 20-year-old woman named Amira Green was found dead near a Starbucks parking lot in Anaheim. Her phone was missing. Witnesses said she was seen running barefoot across the street like she was being chased, and then got hit by a black van that sped off. No plates, no suspects. I couldn't even cry. I just sat in my room with that book on my bed and thought, I'm next. Disturbing detail. That's still messing with me. Okay, and this part is what's screwing with my head more than anything. Every time someone's name appeared in the book, it wasn't added later. Like Jace's name was already in there before he died. Same with Amira. The ink was dry. The handwriting matched all the other entries. It was like their deaths were already printed before they happened. I've flipped through every single page now. Hundreds of names, maybe thousands. Random people, some that sound familiar, others that don't. But only one entry was in bold ink. Mine, Elliot Vance. Date, location, question mark, question mark, question mark, cause, last thought. And underneath that, written in faint red text like it was bleeding through the page, was one word. Soon. I'm not done yet. There's so much more I haven't even told you. About the forums. About the hidden code I found in the binding of the book. About the camera I found in my apartment vent 2 weeks later. If y'all want me to keep posting updates, I will. But just know this. The book knows things. And once it knows you, you're in. You can't run. You can't skip to the end. Because the book is already writing yours. I didn't sleep for 5 days after Amira died. I couldn't. I tried to convince myself it was all coincidence. Like maybe someone was playing a prank that went too far. But deep down, I knew. I knew the book was real. It wasn't just predicting death. It was designing it. Curating the moment. Picking people apart like meat. And now that Amira was gone, that thing had started watching me. I felt it. You ever feel like the air in your apartment isn't yours anymore? Like the walls are breathing with you? I'd be scrolling through Instagram, and the suggested reels would show people walking through dimly lit tunnels, funeral homes, and morgues. One time, I opened TikTok, and it auto-played a live stream of some abandoned hospital. I swiped up instantly, but I swear I saw someone in the video, standing in the doorway, wearing my hoodie. I never joined the stream. I never followed the account. The username, @obituarix_lives. And yeah, I reported it. It didn't exist when I searched again. What was inside the binding? I said in the last post that I found something in the spine of the book. I didn't tell you what it was because I didn't fully understand it myself at the time, but now I do. So the book, the one that predicted Jace and Amira's deaths, had this weird swelling in the spine, like it had been sewn shut around something. I didn't want to mess with it at first, but curiosity is a sick disease. One night around 3 a.m., I cracked open the back of the book with a razor blade and sliced through the seam. Inside was a USB drive, completely black, no branding, no markings. I didn't plug it into my laptop. I'm not stupid. Instead, I borrowed a friend's ancient desktop PC, wiped the OS clean, and loaded the drive. At first, there was only one file. No folder, just one file. Reader initiate .mp4. The video was, I don't even know how to describe it. No intro, no sound. Just a woman, sitting on what looked like a rusty dentist chair, blindfolded and gagged, hands zip-tied behind her back. The room was dim and covered in white tile that was yellowing from age. There was something scribbled on the walls in what looked like charcoal, or maybe dried blood. I paused the video and squinted. They weren't words, they were names, thousands of names. I screenshot the frame, zoomed in. One of the names was mine. I couldn't breathe. Then, at the 2:16 mark of the video, someone entered the frame. A tall figure, hooded, wearing a mask, like one of those expressionless theater masks, but warped, melted, like it was left in an oven too long. They walked up behind the woman, pulled out a sheet of paper, read it slowly. I couldn't make out the words, but the woman started convulsing the moment they spoke. Her eyes rolled under the blindfold. Blood trickled from her nose. She began to scream through the gag, a dry, choking scream, and within seconds, her neck snapped back like a rubber band, and she stopped moving. Just like that, the masked figure stared directly into the camera for a full minute. Then, in an AI-generated voice that sounded like 100 people whispering through static, it said, "You are the next author." The screen cut to black. Things start showing up in real life. I returned the PC to my friend and didn't say a word about what I'd done. I was already getting paranoid, not just about the book or the USB or even the video, but about everything. Little things started happening. I'd wake up and find my fridge unplugged and all the food spoiled. I'd hear whispers from the hallway at night, not even inside my apartment. Outside, in the building, someone saying my name in the same broken whisper every time. Elliot. Elliot. He's writing now. One morning, I found 20 dead birds piled in front of my door. Not lying. Literally stacked. Wings snapped. Necks twisted. Their beaks stuffed with pages torn from a Bible. One of the pages had a sticky note taped to it. in the exact same handwriting from the book. You are being read. The phone call. April 25th, 9:06 p.m. My phone rang. No caller ID. I don't normally answer block numbers, but something in me told me to pick up. I did. The call didn't connect properly at first, just static. Then a voice came through. Not robotic, not demonic, just human, soft, disturbingly calm. You're writing them now, Elliot. Me. Who is this? You're writing them into the book. Look at page 146. Click. The line went dead. My hands were shaking as I picked up the book and flipped to page 146. The page was blank when I last checked. Now it wasn't. It had a name on it. Samantha Vance. Date, May 1st, 2025. Location, Tucson, Arizona. Cause, skull fracture. Last thought. Elliot? Samantha is my sister. She was visiting Arizona with her fiancé. I FaceTimed her immediately. She was fine, laughing, sunburned, wearing her ugly sun hat. Said I was being weird. I begged her not to go outside for the rest of her trip. She rolled her eyes. May 1st, the worst day of my life. They said she fell off a hotel balcony. No one pushed her. No one saw anything. She had gone outside for a smoke after an argument with her fiancé. Security footage showed her stepping onto the balcony at 10:48 p.m., leaning forward, and then falling. But here's the part that broke me. The hotel security cam caught audio. Right before she fell, she whispered, "Elliot?" Like she was responding to someone behind her. There was no one behind her. Just air. I tried to burn the book, I snapped. I took the book into my bathtub, poured lighter fluid on it, and lit a match. The flames roared for about 5 seconds. Then they stopped. Dead. No smoke. No ashes. The lighter fluid sizzled out, and the book sat there, completely intact, pages dry. When I opened it again, there was a new page, blank except for a message in fresh ink. Now you know why we never leave. The next page, a name I hadn't seen before. Officer Gerald Monroe. Date, May 3rd, 2025. Location, my apartment complex. Cause, multiple stab wounds. Last thought, I shouldn't have come inside. 2 days later, a real cop came to my door. Apparently, a neighbor had filed a noise complaint. He stepped inside. I begged him not to. He didn't listen. I watched him walk into my living room, and then I heard it. A sound I will never, ever forget. Throat tearing, bone cracking, gurgling. I ran. I didn't even grab my keys. I ran barefoot into the street, screaming like a madman. The news reported it as a break-in gone wrong. There was no footage, no fingerprints, but the book had added another name. I can't escape this. It's August now. I'm living in a motel under a fake name. I change rooms every week. I sleep with the lights on. My laptop has no webcam. I bought a prepaid phone. I don't talk to anyone. I don't exist anymore. But the book found me again. It showed up 2 days ago, placed inside my mini fridge, waiting. I didn't open it. Not yet. But I feel something changing in me. I've been seeing things lately, in mirrors, in reflections, quick flashes of faces I don't recognize, screaming, smiling, covered in dirt and rot. And sometimes, when I'm falling asleep, I feel something on my chest, heavy, like hands pressing down. Last night, I woke up with a paper cut on my tongue, and the taste of ink in my mouth. I don't think there's going to be a happy ending, but you need to know, because the book is spreading, and once your name is written, you belong to it. There's some things that should never exist, not in this world. Not in any. The book is not just predicting death. It's not even just recording death. It's harvesting it, feeding on it, recording every detail, like it's documenting pain for some unseen, higher appetite. After I fled the apartment and went off-grid, I tried to get help, but not from police, not from family. I went deeper, into the web where this thing came from. I thought if I could find out who made the book, maybe I could end this. Burn it, smash it, whatever. I didn't care. I just wanted it to stop writing. What I found instead made everything worse. The digital graveyard. Through some shady VPN layers and a burner laptop, I reconnected to the Tor network. I tried the old forums Jace mentioned, the ones where he first saw the listing. They were gone, but in their place was a new link passed around like a secret between old ghosts. The link was a single string of numbers and a Latin phrase, mortem in corde. It redirected to a site with no interface, just a scrolling, endless wall of names. I'm talking thousands upon thousands of names. Each one had a timer next to it, ticking down to 0. Once it hit 0, the name would go black. Clicking it would show the details of their death. Time, place, cause, last words. Some entries had videos, not security footage, personal recordings. Like someone followed these people, filmed them from the shadows, and uploaded it. It wasn't just a death clock. It was a digital obituary archive. And buried deep in the code was an admin tag that made my blood freeze. Lost editor, Elliot V. 382. That's me. I hadn't touched this site in my life. But the site says I've been editing names for months. And the one thing that shattered any lingering idea that I was still sane, I clicked one random name at the top of the list, just to see. It was a 13-year-old girl in Prague. The video showed her walking home from school. Nothing scary at first, just her taking a normal route through a park. The camera was shaky, handheld, behind a tree. Then it cut to a bedroom. Night vision. Someone was in her closet. The camera didn't move. It just watched as she lay in bed, eyes twitching in sleep. She murmured something in Czech. The subtitles translated it. He's watching again. Then she stopped breathing. No one touched her. No one entered the room. She just stopped existing. There's more than one. Book. I was wrong about the book being unique. It's not one of a kind. It's part of a system, an ecosystem of death. Every time someone dies from the book, it spreads, like a virus, to another location, another author, and there are hundreds of us, some active, some dormant, some dead. How do I know? Because one of them contacted me. The collector, August 13th, 3:43 a.m. I got a FaceTime from a number labeled Unknown Corpse. When I picked up, the camera flipped on automatically. I didn't even touch the screen. I saw my motel room, but the angle was wrong. It was being filmed from inside my TV. There was no one on the other end, just audio. And then, a voice I can only describe as rotted silk spoke. You've added 7 souls, Elliot, but your quota is 10. Me. I didn't write any of them. I didn't choose this. You accepted the book. You turned the page. You watched. That's all it needs. I was shaking. I screamed at it, told it to stop using my name, demanded answers. It responded with one sentence. The first author tried to run too. Then the call cut. 10 minutes later, someone knocked on my door. 3 slow knocks. Pause. 3 more. Like Morse code. I didn't answer. But when I looked through the peephole, there was a man standing there in a suit made of stitched together skin, wearing a deer skull as a mask. He held up a sign. It said, "One more and you're free." I finally opened the book again. I swore I wouldn't, but the morning after that call, I did. It had been updating even without me touching it. The pages were thicker now, like they had absorbed ink straight from the souls it recorded. I flipped to the latest entry. It was blank, but the next page had a name scratched into it, like someone clawed it in with a fingernail. Zachary Lenz. I didn't know the name, didn't recognize it at all. No cause of death, no location, just a timestamp. 2:22 a.m., August 19th. 5 days from when I saw it. Out of curiosity, I searched the name on Facebook. He's real. A 19-year-old film student living in New York, obsessed with analog horror and ARGs. Kind of the exact type of person who'd be interested in the story, to be honest. I debated for a whole day before messaging him. "Hey, this is random, but I think you're in danger. You might be on a death list. Please respond." He replied in less than 5 minutes. "Oh, lol. I know. I got the book yesterday. Pretty sick prank, right?" I tried to save him. I begged him to destroy it. He laughed me off. Said he was even filming a short film using the book as a prop. Content gold, he called it. He wouldn't listen. So I flew to New York. I didn't tell him. I tracked down his dorm using clues from his Instagram. A photo showing the street name. A recognizable pizza shop sign. I staked the place out. At 2:14 a.m., the hallway lights flickered. I ran up the stairs. I sprinted to his door and banged on it, shouting his name. No answer, so I kicked it in. I found Zach, sitting on his bed, alive, breathing, book in his lap. He looked up at me, smiling. "You came. I knew you would." Then his nose started bleeding, and he collapsed backward, convulsing violently, his eyes rolling like glass marbles. I rushed to him, tried to hold him still, screamed for help, but when I looked down, the book was open, and my hands were covered in ink. The page had changed before my eyes. It no longer said Zachary Lenz. It said, "Killed by the hand of the previous author. Witnessed, recorded, completed. I don't think I'm me anymore. Since that night, I've been different. My dreams aren't mine. I see people I've never met, dying in ways I can't describe without breaking apart. I've started losing time. Blackouts where I wake up in new places. One time, I woke up in a kid's playroom at a Chuck E. Cheese. Another time, in a Walmart freezer, naked and holding a Polaroid camera. My voice doesn't always sound like me. Sometimes I catch it glitching, like it's lagging behind my mouth. And the worst part, I've started writing again, not on purpose. I wake up with paper cuts and ink stains on my fingers. My motel ceiling has names written across it in red Sharpie. And just 2 nights ago, I found a mirror in the bathroom, fogged up with this message. Only one left. Make it count. The final entry. I think I know who the last person is. I saw the book again today. It had a sticky note on the front that read, "The audience is watching now." I opened it. There were no names, no dates, no deaths, just a phrase. "You're writing this story, Elliot." And then next. Then the last page flipped itself. A blank space. Where your name is supposed to go. You're still here, reading. Then maybe you already feel it. That pull, that breath on your neck when you turn off the lights, that pressure behind your eyes when you try to sleep. Because now you know. And the book, The book knows you. It's 4:12 a.m. The motel power went out 3 hours ago, but my laptop's still on. The screen keeps flashing like it's glitching, but it's not. It's blinking, like an eye. The book is on the desk behind me, open to a blank page that smells like rust and soil. I haven't written anything in it. I haven't touched it in 11 days. But every night, I wake up with it open in a new place. In the microwave, in the shower, under my pillow. And every time, one name disappears from the pages, like it was used up. The paper left behind curls at the edges like dead skin. There are only 4 names left in it now, and I think the book wants me to finish them. The ritual files. After what happened to Zach, I broke. I tore apart the motel room looking for cameras, microphones, anything. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I punched the mirror so hard I couldn't move my left hand for 3 days. I found the USB again, hidden in my pillowcase. It had changed. There were now 6 new folders, each one named after one of the book's past owners. Every folder had documents, photos, and videos, like the drive had been harvesting their lives. The folder marked Isaac H. 1952 was the worst. Inside, it was a black and white film reel converted to MP4. No sound, just a boy sitting on the floor in a barn, maybe 10 years old, naked, shivering, surrounded by open notebooks, pages and pages of death entries, but they weren't written in pen. They were written in blood, and he wasn't writing them. He was being forced to say them out loud. Every time he did, a figure behind the camera would nod. At the end of the video, the boy screams, and something stabs through his chest from behind. Not a blade, not a spike. A hand. Pale, long-fingered, inhuman. The frame lingered on his face as he died. And you know what he was doing? Smiling. The package. 4 nights ago, someone slid a cardboard box under my door. Inside, a disposable camera with 1 photo left. A cassette tape labeled, "Read This." A chunk of a human jawbone. A ticket stub from a McDonald's play place in Atlanta. And a page torn from my journal that I never wrote. The page said, "You still have time to give them endings, but if you wait too long, they'll write you instead." I didn't recognize the handwriting until I saw a mirror. It's mine. Backwards. Reflection. People. I haven't seen my own reflection in 9 days. That sounds insane, but I swear it's true. Any mirror I look into now, the face looks mostly like mine, but wrong. A little off, a little delayed, like watching a live stream on a bad connection. There's always a 1-second lag, and the worst part, it watches me. It blinks when I don't. It breathes when I hold my breath. One time I stared at it for an hour. It never moved. Then, just as I turned to leave, it smiled. I didn't. It did. And its teeth weren't mine. Cold calls. 2 days ago, I started getting phone calls from people I know are already dead. Voicemails mostly. No ringing. Just new recordings appearing on my phone every hour. One was from my mom. She died when I was 14. Drunk driver. But her voice was there. Clear as day. Whispering like her throat was full of salt water. "You shouldn't have turned the page, baby. They're all in here now. They're all looking at you." I played another voicemail. It was a mirror, but she wasn't speaking. She was screaming, gurgling, crying. The sound of her skull cracking echoed in the background. At the end of the message, a man's voice came through. "We're not ghosts, Elliot. We're edits. A game with rules." I found a sheet of paper folded inside the book today. It was rules. like a user manual, no title, just this, the author's game. Welcome, reader. You are now the next author. You are bound to the contract of death. You must witness the final moments of 10 souls. Record each accurately. Do not intervene. Do not warn. Do not lie. Do not forget your own story will be written last. Penalties for breaking the rules include reversal of written deaths, collapse of your timeline, becoming the next reader. The book does not forgive. It only writes. My quota is 10, and so far, 7 names are gone. That means 3 left. And then, what? It lets me go? Or I disappear like the rest? I thought about burning the book again. I tried. Poured gasoline all over it in a Home Depot parking lot. Lit it. Watched the flames rise. It didn't burn. The flames turned blue, then black. Then they screamed. A human scream, long and high-pitched, like the paper was alive and dying. A cop pulled into the lot as I dropped it. I ran, but later that night, a news article popped up on my phone. The headline, Local Officer Killed in Apparent Paper Shredder Accident at Precinct. I never saw his name, but I know it was the cop from the parking lot, because now there's only 2 names left in the book. The photo. I developed the disposable camera. I wish I hadn't. The photo was of me, sleeping, but not in the motel. In a child's bedroom I didn't recognize, with walls covered in drawings of shadow men, bloody books, and faces with missing eyes. In the photo, I'm lying on the bed with my mouth open, and something is sitting on my chest. Its eyes are scribbled out. Its hands are inside my chest cavity, reaching for my ribs like they're piano keys. And in the bottom corner of the photo, you can see the book, closed, with blood dripping from the spine. The second to last name. I opened the book just an hour ago, and there it was, the 9th name, James Trevors. Date, September 2nd, 2025. Location, Los Angeles, California. Cause, compression suffocation. Last thought, why is he smiling? I don't know him, but the book does. I googled the name, found his TikTok, 900 followers. Does makeup tutorials and scary story readings. His most recent video, Reading Scary Reddit Posts, Part 66. The thumbnail, a screenshot of my post. He found the story. He's reading it, and the book doesn't like being seen. Final thought, there's 1 name left. Only 1, but the page is still blank. No name, no date, no cause of death. Just a smear of red ink slowly dripping from the top edge of the paper like it's waiting to form letters. I don't want to know who it is. I don't want to finish the story, because I think I know. I think it's you. You shouldn't have read this far, because now your name is almost ready. You can feel it, can't you? The pressure behind your eyes, the hum in your walls, the reflection that doesn't blink when you do. That's not your screen flickering. That's the book writing. You won't believe what I'm about to tell you. I don't expect you to, but it's already too late. You've been reading, and the book has been watching. It's not just a story anymore. It never was. The house, where it ends. I had a dream 2 nights ago, the kind you wake up from sweating through your skin, like your body knows something your mind doesn't. In the dream, I was walking through a field of TV screens, thousands of them, playing static and black and white videos of people dying on loop. There was a house at the end of the field, Victorian, rotting, surrounded by barbed wire that bent upward like thorns. The porch light flickered, and the front door was already open. I woke up with blood under my fingernails and mud caked into the soles of my feet. My motel room smelled like formaldehyde. There were muddy footprints on the floor. Not mine. The camera in the corner was recording. I never installed a camera. The book opened itself. It was resting on the nightstand, spine cracked wide. The final page had started to fill in. Not typed, not written, but carved, like clawed in. The paper was wrinkling as I watched it, swelling, like it was breathing. The letters emerged slowly, in real time, curling like worms from the skin of the page. Lost, entry, name, redacted date, now, location, here, cause, witnessed, documented, spilled, consumed, lost, thought. They're still reading. I threw the book across the room. It didn't fall. It floated mid-air, then snapped shut. And when it hit the ground, it let out a laugh. I didn't imagine that. I swear to God, it laughed like a gurgling child. And for the first time in my entire descent into this nightmare, I screamed. The author before me. I got desperate. I contacted a hacker I met back when I used to write creepy args for fun. His handle was Shach4DWHROW. We hadn't talked in years. He agreed to meet me in person, said he'd done something similar once. He looked pale as hell when I saw him. Gaunt, like he'd spent a year in a sensory deprivation tank. He said one thing before I could even sit down. You know the author before you. They didn't die. They're in the book. Me. What do you mean? He opened his phone and showed me an archive folder of screenshots from some dark web mirror server, all labeled with names and dates. I recognized one name immediately. Isaac H., the boy from the 1952 folder, the one forced to speak deaths aloud. Shadowcrow pointed to the photo. Look at the timestamp. September 2025. He's still alive, he said. Or something wearing him is. I found the house. I don't even know how I got there. I blacked out for 8 hours. Woke up in the back seat of a taxi parked on an abandoned road. The driver was gone. Door open. Meter still running. Ahead of me was the house from the dream. Exactly the same. Porch light on. Door cracked open. Something was breathing behind it. The yard was filled with shattered mirrors. I couldn't walk 3 feet without seeing my reflection lag behind me, looking straight into the camera, blood running down its mouth. And worse, each mirror had something taped to it. Polaroids, your names, real usernames, profiles. Some were already crossed out with red ink. Others had countdowns next to them. Some had timestamps marked today. The archive room, inside the house, was silent, but it wasn't empty. It was filled, wall to wall, with rows of filing cabinets, all marked readers, witnesses, unfinished. I opened one. The folders inside had teeth, real teeth, molars, canines, still bleeding. Inside the folders were photos, snapshots of the people who'd read the book, or stories like it. The ones passed around Reddit, YouTube, Discord. The ones people laughed at and said, "That's fire, bro. You should make a movie." Every folder ended the same way. Final entry. Archived cause of termination. Engagement completed. Spread effective. Closure authorized. Then I found my own folder. It was empty, except for one thing. A USB. The final video. I took the USB to a public library, used a burner laptop I bought from a pawn shop in Vegas. There was one file. The author. 0, 0, 0, 0, final reel.mp4. I played it. The screen lit up with a shot of me, standing outside the house, just like a few hours ago, but from the roof, like something was perched above, watching me walk in. Then it cut. Different shots, glimpses. Me screaming in the bathtub, me dragging the book through a graveyard with pages leaking blood, me chewing on a page with my eyes rolled into my skull, me watching you through your webcam. The final frame? You, staring at this screen, reading this, and something behind you. There's nowhere left to run. I can't hide. I've tried. Hotels, bunkers, the middle of the goddamn desert. It always finds me. The book always shows up. It's not bound by paper anymore. It's digital now. In screens, in devices, in you. I destroyed my phone, my laptop. I even tried gouging out my own eye. The infection's already in my blood. I've started hearing things again. Whispers under my skin. Not voices. Pages turning. My arms are covered in paper cuts I didn't make. My fingerprints are gone. They've been replaced with ink smudges. I looked at my reflection this morning, and it spoke before I did. It said, "They've already finished your story. You were just the narrator. Your role in this. You kept reading. You followed every word. You witnessed. And that's all the book needed. It's called Obituarex, not because it predicts death, but because it spreads death through stories, through curiosity, through digital rot. I was never the author. I was the messenger. And now, so are you. The final page. This is the end of me. I can feel my story closing. The pressure behind my eyes is unbearable. I taste ink when I breathe. I haven't slept in 3 days because every time I blink, I hear screaming inside my skull like it's echoing through the chambers of a hollow coffin. My chest is getting heavier. The lights in this motel keep flickering. Something's knocking on the ceiling. And I know, the next time I open the book, your name will be written there, in black, then scratched out in red. You can't unread this. You can't unknow it. You can't unsee what's already spread into your device. The book knows who you are, and it's already begun to write your story. So tell me, what's your last thought going to be? Because the book is already listening. It's watching you now, and the page is almost dry. The end. For me, but not for you. Never for you. I am a Freemason. I connected with retired Freemason on the dark web, and I am scared what comes next in my career. Yo, what's up, Reddit? This is gonna sound like total BS at first, but I swear on everything, this is real. I've been debating whether or not I should even post this, but things have been happening lately that I can't ignore. I just need to get it off my chest. Maybe someone out there knows more than I do. Maybe someone can tell me what the hell I've actually gotten myself into. I'm 27. I work in finance. Kinda boring, but decent money. I've always been obsessed with secret societies, Freemasons, Illuminati, all that behind the curtain stuff. Not in a tinfoil hat kind of way, but like, I just always thought there was more to the world than we're told. You feel me? So anyway, about a year ago, I got invited to a local Freemason lodge in Michigan through a dude I met on LinkedIn, of all places. He messaged me after I commented on this video about old symbology used in corporate branding. Yeah, I was that guy. He said he was a traveling man and asked if I was seeking light. I thought he was trolling me, but nah, he was dead serious. Fast forward a couple weeks, I go through this whole process, background check, meetings, and eventually I get initiated. That night was weird, I'm not gonna lie. The ceremony had all these ancient scripts, symbols, robes. Nothing evil, just strange. Like I was watching something I wasn't supposed to be a part of. I didn't really think too much about it. I figured, hey, it's just tradition, right? But here's the thing. Being a Freemason wasn't what I thought. At least not at first. Most of it was super boring, like charity events, barbecues, meetings where old dudes complain about their backs. Not exactly the Da Vinci Code stuff I'd imagined. But then something changed. It started with a conversation at one of the meetings in this small, super old building in Detroit. This guy named Brother Ellis, he was probably in his late 70s, started talking to me more often. He always wore a black suit, never smiled, had these pale blue eyes that felt like they could read your soul. One day, we're outside during a smoke break, and he says, "Have you ever seen the other side of the lodge?" I was like, "What do you mean? Like a metaphor?" He just laughed and said, "No, son. I'm talking about the real lodge, the one they don't show you until you're chosen." That stuck with me for weeks. I kept asking around, but everyone played dumb or just told me Ellis was eccentric. But he kept hinting that there was more, and I wanted to know. That's when I made the worst decision of my life. It was a Thursday night. I was watching some deep dive video on YouTube about hidden rooms in Masonic temples, and I ended up in a rabbit hole that led me to a dark web forum. Now listen, before this, I'd only ever heard about the dark web. I didn't even know how to get on it, but I had a VPN, Tor browser, and enough curiosity to be dangerous. The site was called The Ashlers. It had this strange loading screen with Masonic symbols rotating in a circle. The homepage said, "For brothers who seek truth beyond the veil." It wasn't like Silk Road or anything sketchy. It was more like a closed forum, and you needed a level to see certain threads. But someone had left an invite link sitting out in the open. Rookie mistake on their part. I clicked into a thread titled "Retired Masters, Off the Record." There were maybe a dozen posts, but one caught my eye. A user named Operative Stone 33 had posted something like, "I was a master mason in the UK for over 40 years. I saw things that most men couldn't handle. I left because I feared what I had become. If you're reading this, you're already too deep." I replied, not expecting anything. I just wrote, "I'm new. What do you mean by what you had become? What did you see?" And that's when everything started going downhill. The next day, I got a DM through the site. It was from Operative Stone 33. He told me to join a private chat room. We talked for like 4 hours. He said he couldn't type much, so we did a voice call over some encrypted server. He had this deep, slow British accent, like an old professor who'd smoked too many cigars. He said the upper levels of masonry weren't symbolic. They were real. That some lodges, especially old ones in Europe, practiced rituals that predated modern religion. That they'd discovered something ancient. I asked what it was, and he paused. "They don't worship anything. They feed something. Something that's always been here." Then he told me to look up a place in Scotland called Rosslyn Chapel. He said there was a room beneath it that doesn't exist on blueprints, but is always there. He said if I ever got asked to travel for a ceremony overseas, I needed to run. Immediately. Then just like that, He went offline. His account was deleted a few hours later. Gone. Like he never existed. I didn't sleep that night. Something about his voice, the way he said feed, it stayed in my head like a song you can't shake. I wish I could say that was the end of it, that I moved on, forgot about it, lived my life. But nope. That weekend, I went to a lodge meeting, and something was different. People were quiet, watching me. Even Brother Ellis didn't speak, just nodded at me from across the room. When I got home that night, there was a letter on my doorstep. No postage, just an envelope with my name, handwritten. Inside was a note that said, "You have been seen. Do not seek what you cannot comprehend. The architects are waiting." That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, my phone's been glitching. Apps open by themselves. My GPS shows me in places I haven't been. One time, it said I was inside the Rosslyn Chapel for like 5 minutes. I've never even left the country. My smart TV turned on at 3:17 a.m. last night and played an audio file with a voice chanting in a language I don't recognize. And last night, I saw a man outside my apartment, wearing a suit, just standing under the streetlight, watching my window. I don't know what's going on, but I think they're preparing me for something. I think initiation was just the beginning, and now I don't know if I'll ever be able to walk away. Let me know if y'all want me to keep this going. This is just the beginning, and it's already way worse than I imagined. There are things I've seen now that I physically cannot describe. Not because I don't want to, but because my body literally rejects it. Like when you try to say something out loud and your throat tightens. Like your brain builds a firewall to keep you from falling into a bottomless pit. That's what this is. Every time I close my eyes, I see it. And I'm starting to believe that's what they wanted. The week after I got that letter, the one that said, "You have been seen," everything started unraveling fast. I got called into this last-minute ritual inspection meeting at a different lodge location. Not our usual place in Detroit. This was outside the city, about 45 minutes north, in a rural area. A place I'd never heard of before, let alone visited. It was just coordinates in a text message from a burner number that disappeared 10 minutes later. No address, just the words, "Wear formal," no phone, no metal, no questions. Now listen, I've been to a few rituals already, right? They're usually theatrical, kind of odd, but controlled. This wasn't that. The building was surrounded by pine trees, and it was so far off the main road that my car lost signal halfway through the drive. By the time I got there, it was past 9 p.m., pitch black, and the only light came from a fire pit in front of the building, where 2 men in black robes stood motionless, not talking, not moving, just waiting. They didn't say anything to me, just opened the door and motioned for me to enter. Inside, there were no chairs, no decorations, just stone walls, and this musky, wet smell like rotting paper and mold. The floor was cold, like concrete, and it echoed with every step I took. The air felt thick, like I was walking into a sealed tomb. There were others already inside, 9 of them, all men, all wearing the same black robes, with silver emblems sewn into their chests. None of them looked familiar. I was the only one in a suit. That's when I realized they didn't bring me there to attend the ritual. They brought me to be part of it. One of the men handed me a mask, Smooth wood, painted white, with no holes except for 2 eye slits. It smelled like vinegar and something metallic. I held it in my hands, and he whispered, "The blind shall be opened unto the architect." I didn't know what to do. I should have walked away right then and there, but something in me, this sick, paralyzed feeling in my chest, made me obey. I put the mask on. The man took me by the arm, like I was being led somewhere blindfolded. They guided me through a set of double doors, down a narrow spiral staircase, made of stone. There were torches on the wall, real fire. The temperature dropped with every step. You could hear water dripping somewhere in the dark. When we reached the bottom, there was a chamber. That's the only way to describe it. An underground circular room, like an old crypt. The ceiling was low, with markings all over it, symbols I didn't recognize. Not normal Freemason stuff. These looked ancient, like something scratched into the walls with broken nails. The walls were covered in moss and some kind of black substance that looked like dried blood. There was a stone altar in the center, and on top of it was a body. It was a man, barely conscious. His eyes were open, but they were wrong. They were completely white, no pupils. His body was covered in red ink symbols, and he was restrained with rope made of what looked like hair. I swear on my life, it wasn't rope. It was twisted and black and glistening, like it was still alive. One of the men approached the altar and began to chant in a language I'd never heard. Deep, guttural words, like his voice was coming from the back of his spine, not his mouth. The others joined in. The room vibrated with this low, hellish hum that made my teeth feel like they were vibrating inside my skull. Then they all turned to look at me. The leader held out a dagger, stone, not metal, and said, "Let the initiates spill truth from the source." He was holding it out to me. They wanted me to cut the man, or maybe worse. I said no. I shook my head and stepped back. That's when they all turned silent, and the man on the altar opened his mouth. What came out was not a voice. It was a sound like multiple screams layered on top of each other. A woman's scream, a child's scream, a low animal growl, a choir of suffering. It echoed around the room like the walls were alive, bouncing it back at me. His mouth stretched wider than it should have, like physically impossible. His jaw dislocated and kept going. You could hear the bone crack, but he didn't stop. He just kept screaming. Blood started pouring out of his mouth. Not dripping, pouring, thick and black, like oil. It was bubbling. It hissed when it hit the stone floor. I dropped the mask and backed into the wall, trying to find the door, but it wasn't there anymore. There was no door, just stone. That's when the lights went out, and something else came in. I don't know how to explain it, but the air got heavier, like gravity had been turned up. It felt like I was underwater. Everyone dropped to their knees. The chanting stopped. The only sound was a wet dragging noise coming from behind the altar. Something was crawling toward the center of the circle. I didn't look. I couldn't. Even now, my memory cuts out here. But I remember the smell, a mix of sulfur and burning hair. And I remember this long, snapping sound, like meat being torn apart slowly. Something was fed. I know it. And I watched them offer it a living person. I woke up outside, face down in the dirt. No one was around. My car was gone. My wallet, gone. My phone, dead. I walked until sunrise, before I saw a road. When I finally made it home, I slept for nearly 48 hours. When I woke up, my voicemail had 13 missed calls. all from no caller ID. One message just said, "Do not speak of what you saw. It has seen you too." Since then, my apartment's been broken into twice, but nothing was stolen. They just moved things around, opened drawers, left the bathroom light on, took the batteries out of my TV remote, like they wanted me to know they were inside. I started getting letters under my door again. One had a photo of me, taken from inside my apartment while I was sleeping. My eyes were open, but I don't remember being awake. And now, the dreams are getting worse. In one of them, I'm walking through a tunnel, naked, cold. I can hear someone whispering behind me, but when I turn around, there's no one there. The walls are breathing. The air pulses like a heartbeat. I keep walking until I see it. The altar, but this time, I'm the one lying on it. And the faces around me, they're all wearing my face. That's how I wake up, screaming. This isn't just Freemasonry anymore. This is something older, something underneath the rituals, buried. And they feed it. They always have. It's not about brotherhood or charity or enlightenment. That's the mask, the real purpose, to keep it sleeping, or worse, to keep it fed. And now they've seen me. They said once you've looked behind the veil, you can't go back. And I think they're right. If anyone knows about this ritual, or what that thing was, I need help. I can't sleep. I'm scared I'll wake up and not be myself anymore. Something's taking me apart piece by piece, and no one's coming to stop it. I haven't left my apartment in 5 days. I've blacked out every window. I duct taped the door frame shut. There's a kitchen knife, duct taped under every table, every counter, every drawer. I sleep with one in my hand, because something's coming back, and I'm starting to wonder if it ever really left. The night after the underground ritual, I started noticing the wrong version of myself. Not a doppelganger exactly, not a hallucination. It's worse than that. I was brushing my teeth. Normal night. Trying to act like things were fine, that I was fine. But as I was brushing, I caught a flicker in the mirror, like static, but not visual. More like a feeling, like someone breathing down your neck that you can't see. Then, for a split second, my reflection didn't move with me. My arm went up to rinse. My reflection didn't move at all. It just watched me and smiled. You ever see something smile without changing its mouth? Its eyes just pull inward, as if something behind them is trying to come forward. That's what I saw. I dropped the toothbrush and backed up, slipped on the tile, hit my shoulder against the wall. By the time I looked back, my reflection was normal. Mouth shut, arm in sync, nothing wrong. I didn't sleep that night. And then the real madness started. Let me tell you what real horror is. It's when your own friends start seeing you in places you've never been. My coworker texted me a photo of me standing outside a Waffle House in Ohio at 2 a.m. I haven't left Michigan. Another sent me a screenshot of my Instagram live, which I never started. The stream was just 30 minutes of pitch black darkness and heavy breathing. The chat was filled with people typing, "Yo, this is fake, right? And who TF is that behind him?" But you couldn't see anything in the actual stream, just shapes twitching in the black. And then there's the FaceTime. My best friend, Logan, called me in the middle of the night, panicked, said I had called him, said I didn't say anything, just stared at him and whispered the same sentence over and over in a flat, static voice. "The body is hollow. Let me wear it." He screen recorded it. I watched the whole thing, and I swear on my mother's grave, it's not my voice. It sounds like me, Yeah, but the cadence is wrong. Too slow, too calm, like something trying to learn how to talk by copying what a human sounds like. I went full digital ghost after that, deleted all my apps, turned off my iPhone, switched to a flip phone I got at a gas station, burned every piece of clothing I wore to the ritual, and that's when I found something that almost made me puke. Inside the lining of my coat, tucked under the stitching, was a tooth. Not mine, not even human. It was too long, too sharp, like something that chews through bone. My sleep is different now. I don't dream anymore. I relive. Every night, the same vision, same place. I'm lying on the altar. My skin is peeling off, strip by strip, but I'm not dying. I can feel everything, the temperature, the damp air, the oily fingers sliding beneath my muscles. There are eyes watching me, eyes inside the walls, and the worst part, I wake up wet, clothes soaked, bed drenched, and it's not sweat, it's red, almost black, no smell, no source, just there, like I was really there again. Last Thursday, I got a text from an unknown number, no contact, no name, just a GPS link. The coordinates pointed to an abandoned outlet mall north of Chicago. I didn't respond. I blocked the number. 2 hours later, I got an envelope slid under my door. Inside was a photo of me, standing outside that exact mall, time-stamped 4 minutes ago. That's when I started researching what the architects really are. Not the Freemasons, not the rituals, not the symbolism. I mean the thing underneath all that, the hidden purpose, the thing that retired Freemason warned me about, the feeding. I went back on the Ashless forum using a burner laptop and created a new account. I waited hours before anyone responded to my posts. Then finally, a user called Sigil Carrion sent me a file. No message, just a .zip file titled Blueprint of the Veil. I opened it. It contained images, dozens of them, hand-drawn diagrams, pages scanned from books that don't exist, floor plans of structures that aren't on any maps, and one folder just called Wearers. Inside were surveillance photos, most of them blurry, grainy, night vision, but each one showed something wrong. People wearing faces that weren't their own, bodies too long, joints bending the wrong way, mouths split at the sides like zippers, standing in crowds, sitting at Starbucks, behind counters at fast food places, in airports, in hospitals, just living among us, like parasites, like skin suits. There was one last photo in the folder, black and white, high resolution. It was me, tied to the altar, no eyes, mouth sewn shut. Caption read, Donor, accepted. I smashed the laptop, buried it, burned the spot. I don't know how long I have before they come back, but I can feel them now. Inside the walls, behind the mirror, in the static of the TV when I'm not watching anything. They twitch behind glass. They speak in ones and zeros. They don't come in through the door. They peel their way in through reflections. I saw one in the elevator yesterday. It was a woman, middle-aged, holding a bag of groceries. She smiled at me as the doors closed, and her face slid, half an inch too far, like it wasn't connected to her skull. And in the reflection, she wasn't holding groceries. She was holding my severed head, smiling. I called the police. They came to my apartment, said everything looked fine. No signs of forced entry, no threats. They asked if I'd been drinking. They asked if I was taking medication. I showed them the photo. It was gone from my phone, replaced by a single video file titled, Do Not Resist. I didn't open it. I threw the phone out the window. I'm not watching that. I can't. The old Freemason who warned me, I tried to find him again. I searched everywhere. Old burner forums, dead emails, even talked to a few people who were still in the lodge. They say he never existed, that there's no record of anyone named Operative Stone 33 in any lodge database anywhere in the country. But get this, there is a gravestone in Scotland with that name on it. Died in 1893. I think they tricked me into opening a door inside me, and now something's crawling through, piece by piece, replacing me, changing me. The other night, I looked at my hands, and they didn't feel like mine. Skin too tight, nails slightly wrong. I tried cutting into one to prove it was real. No blood, just black dust, like ash, like I was already dead. They're going to wear me like a coat. They're going to walk around as me, smile at my friends, hug my family, laugh, pay bills, go to work, and no one will know it's not me. Because that's how the architects work. They don't build, they replace. If you're reading this, start looking in your reflections, not at them, in them, because they're already watching, and maybe they're already wearing you. I boarded the flight to Berlin with nothing but a prepaid phone, a hoodie, and a pocket Bible that I didn't even believe in. Not anymore. I had no suitcase, no plan, no return ticket, because I knew this was it. Whatever they started inside me, they were going to finish it in Berlin. The plane was half empty. No one talked. A man 2 rows behind me never blinked. I counted. 4 hours. Not once. Just watched the back of my seat with this dead patience, like he already knew something I didn't. At one point, I went to the bathroom. When I looked in the mirror, it was cracked. On a plane. No turbulence, no impact, no explanation. And written faintly in the fog was, "You're almost ready." I hadn't breathed on the mirror. When I landed, I didn't go to a hotel. I went straight to the coordinates from the email. The message came through an anonymous IP, no name. Just this: T-3 days. Be silent. Follow the rats. The address was deep in an industrial sector. Old factories and crumbling office buildings, Soviet-era decay, broken glass, dead pigeons, graffiti everywhere, but not normal graffiti. These symbols looked like bones had drawn them. That's when I saw the rats, not scurrying, waiting, dozens of them, just sitting in a perfect semicircle around a storm drain, watching me. So I followed. I crawled through filth for what felt like miles. Couldn't use my phone. It kept glitching out, screen freezing on frames I didn't recognize. At one point, it showed me footage of myself crawling, shot from behind me. There was something following me in that footage, but when I turned around in real life, nothing was there. I kept moving. Eventually, I emerged into what looked like a forgotten train tunnel. Rotting tracks, puddles reflecting a sky that no longer existed, and at the far end, 2 wooden doors covered in wax seals and blood. Above them, etched in jagged iron, Domvs Architecti, the house of the architect. Inside was a room. No, a theater, like a miniature opera house carved into rock. Velvet seats, gold accents, rotten chandeliers hanging by sinew. The walls pulsed with mold like breathing meat. I wasn't alone. There were others already seated, silent, dressed like businessmen, priests, baristas, flight attendants. All of them just sitting there, still, staring forward, not blinking, like mannequins on the edge of waking up. Then the lights dimmed, and the performance began. A curtain opened. There was no stage, just a pit. Inside the pit was a creature. At first, it looked human, female, nude, emaciated, but its spine bent backwards like it was being pulled from the inside by fishhooks. Its skin was stitched together from other people, like a quilt of living faces, and they were still moving, mouths opening and closing, eyes twitching, some of them crying, some of them laughing. The creature began to speak, but not in words. It used faces to talk. One face would scream, another would moan, another would whisper something so ancient it made my nose bleed just from hearing it. It told a story, a parable of becoming, how the flesh was a prison, how the architects were not builders of structures, but of new vessels, how I had been chosen for reforging. I tried to leave. I stood up. No one moved. I pushed through the crowd. Every time I brushed past someone, their skin wrinkled, like it was made of latex stretched too far. One guy's head turned 180 degrees as I passed, not angrily, just watching, just smiling. When I got to the back of the theater, the door was gone, just a wall of soft black muscle, pulsing like a lung. And then I heard it, the knock, 3 knocks, slow, deliberate. Then something peeled open the wall behind me, and I saw him. It was me, standing in the doorway, wearing my exact clothes, my face, but the eyes were wrong, not glowing, not monstrous, just empty, completely, utterly hollow. He stepped toward me with this calm assurance, like he was home already. The audience didn't even flinch. In fact, they stood in unison, all of them. No cue, just complete robotic synchronicity. I turned to run and slipped, fell into the pit, fell into the thing. I landed in something wet, something alive. It moved beneath me, wrapped around me. The stitched skin of that creature began fusing with my arms, my legs. Faces started pressing through my own chest, screaming to get out. I saw my mother's face in one of them, my first girlfriend, my childhood dog, all stitched into me. The creature whispered directly into my ear, "There is no you, only the wearer." I started convulsing. The pain wasn't physical, it was dimensional, like my soul was being pulled sideways through broken glass. That's when the lights went out, and I woke up, not in the tunnel, not in the pit, but in a hotel bed, Berlin. 6 a.m., TV playing static, room service menu on the nightstand with a handwritten note. "Congrats. It fits." I ran to the mirror. At first, I looked normal, but then I blinked, and my reflection didn't. Since that night, things are wrong. My voice echoes a split second too late. Food tastes like ashes and wet cloth. People smile at me with fear behind their eyes. Even strangers, like they see something I don't. The reflection no longer mimics me. It tests me. It raises its hand when I don't, tilts its head when I look away. And now it started speaking, only when I sleep. I record myself every night and I play it back. It whispers in my voice. The shell is ready. The ritual was a success. The flesh remembers pain, but it will not resist. We're inside now. I have no scars from the ritual, no physical proof, but I've started losing time. I woke up yesterday with blood under my fingernails. My neighbor's cat is missing. The police came to my door today and asked about a woman found dead 2 blocks away. Skin peeled like wallpaper. No organs, no fingerprints. They said there was a note left next to her body, written in ash on a mirror shard. "Let me wear you next." I don't know if I did it. I don't remember anything, but I keep having this dream. Or maybe it's a memory. I'm walking down a hospital hallway, and every door I pass has a person inside, sobbing, clawing at their skin, trying to pull themselves out. I open one door. Inside is me. Not the thing wearing me, not the reflection, just me, tied to a bed, screaming with no sound, skin unzipping down the middle. And standing over me is the audience from Berlin, clapping, silently, over and over and over. Part 5 coming soon. If you've been approached by a man in a black suit offering you a light, decline it. If you see yourself in a place you've never been, run. And if your reflection ever smiles before you do, it's already too late. I thought the body was the last thing they needed. I thought once they wore my skin, once they sat in my bones and puppeted me around like a meat marionette, it would be over. But they weren't building a disguise. They were building a vessel, a walking, talking altar, and I was the blueprint. 2 days ago, I bit a piece of my tongue off in my sleep. I only noticed when I went to speak, and my words came out slow, wet, wrong. I spit into the sink and watched the red trail coil around something pink and twitching. It didn't hurt, and that's the part that scared me the most. The part that should have made me scream didn't. I reached into my mouth and ran my finger along the back of my throat. There was a seam, like stitches, but not made of thread, made of something alive, something that wriggled when I touched it. I haven't seen my real face in over 48 hours. Every mirror shows me a version that's just slightly off. Wider grin, longer eyes, mouth too wide when I'm not looking directly at it. Last night, I caught my reflection blinking out of sync again. It winked. It winked at me. And when I smashed the mirror with my elbow, the glass screamed. Not a sound, an actual scream. Like a person, like me. My fingernails came off in the shower this morning. All 10. I should have panicked. I should have puked. Instead, I watched, curious, detached, like it was happening to someone else. I picked one up. Beneath it wasn't flesh. It was obsidian, polished black stone, like a claw sculpted from volcanic glass. That's when I understood. They weren't taking my body. They were replacing it, one layer at a time. I'm not rotting. I'm shedding. I found another note under my door. It wasn't written in ink. It was carved into the paper. Tiny gouges made by a trembling hand or a sharp tooth. It said, "We've poured the last piece. The structure is ready. Climb." I didn't understand what it meant until I turned on the TV. No input, no signal, just static, until it changed. A single image, a staircase, covered in flesh. I've seen it before, in my dreams, in flashes, in reflections that don't match the room. The staircase is alive, moving. It's not made of wood or marble. It's made of bodies, fused together, curled and broken to form the steps. Their eyes still blink. Their mouths whisper constantly, and the whispers form a phrase. Feed the apex, become the crown. That's what they built me for. Not to walk among people, to ascend, to become something else. Tonight, I went back to the Detroit Lodge. I had to, not because I wanted to, but because my feet moved on their own, because I woke up already dressed, keys in hand, standing outside the building and not remembering how I got there. The door was unlocked. Inside, everything was burned. Charred wood, ash floating through the air like snow. Symbols melted into the walls. The altar was cracked in half, and underneath it, a hole. A perfect circular hole. Unnatural. Like it had always been there, just hidden. There was a rope ladder, and beneath that, nothing but darkness, and something breathing. The descent took hours. No light, no sound, except the shifting of meat and something wet dragging across stone. When I finally touched the bottom, I was in a cathedral of rot. It had no walls, no ceiling, just infinite black with pillars of muscle and bone reaching into the sky. And in the center, the architect. It was not a person. It was all of them. A hive of stolen bodies, stitched into a massive shifting monument, heads twisting, hands reaching, mouths gaping in eternal silent screams. Each person I'd ever seen not blink, or smile too wide, or wear a face that wasn't theirs. They were here. They were part of it. And it saw me. It turned all of its eyes toward me. Hundreds, thousands, black and glistening. And it spoke. Not with a mouth. With mine. Its voice came out of my throat, like a spasm, like vomit. The final host has awakened. All structures must fall to rebuild. You are the key. My knees buckled. I vomited blood. I screamed, and the scream came out of the ceiling. The cathedral echoed with it. They weren't just building a vessel. They were building a god, and I was the ignition. They laid me down on a slab. Stone, flesh, I couldn't tell. The faces in the walls began to chant. Not words, just sounds. Backwards syllables that scraped through the marrow of my bones. My chest split open. Not cut, just peeled. There was no blood, only light. A white, blinding, screaming light pouring out of me. Faces swirled in it. Places I've never been. Cities that don't exist. Ancient altars buried beneath every Starbucks, every church, every Freemason lodge on the planet. The same blueprints, the same rituals, all feeding into the architect, the original one, the first builder, the first liar, the first thing that wore skin. They poured something into me, a memory, a concept, a piece of a map written in suffering and bone. And I understood. The world isn't being run, it's being harvested. All society, all traditions, all sacred orders, just templates to keep us arranged in shapes that please it. And I wasn't chosen. I was designed. When I woke up, I was on a bench outside a McDonald's in Hamburg. Sun was shining, birds chirping, normal. But people looked at me strange. A woman crossed herself as she passed me. A man dropped his coffee when our eyes met. I stood, stretched, and I felt the seams under my skin adjust. There was no more pain, no more static, only silence. And that silence was perfect. I checked my phone. New app installed. No name. Just an icon of a compass with an eye in the center. When I opened it, it showed a blinking red dot. In New York, Times Square. I zoomed in. It said, "Final structure, activation, ready, please deliver host." And the camera turned on by itself. It showed my face, but behind my eyes, something else blinked. This is not a warning. This is a confession. You've already seen me. You've already liked my posts. You've already let me in. Because that's how the architects work. They build their cathedrals in your attention. Every share, every click, every time you wonder, is this story real? You're helping lay bricks. And soon, when enough of you have read this, when enough of you have believed in me, the God of flesh will walk again. Goodbye. No more parts. There's no one left to write them. Just us. And we are ready. I found a job on the dark web to work as a park ranger in Western Alaska What I saw still haunts me. Yo, okay, so I don't really know how to start this, but I've been meaning to get it off my chest for a while now. This happened a little over a year ago, and it honestly screwed with my head so bad that I moved across the country and deleted all my old social media. If you're reading this, just don't be stupid like I was. I'm not saying what I saw was paranormal, but it definitely wasn't normal. It wasn't right. I still wake up in cold sweats thinking about what I saw up there. And if you think this is some Blair Witch, internet horror ARG story, nah, I lived this. Okay, let me back up. So, I was 24 at the time. Just another broke, post-COVID, job-hopping loser living in a tiny studio apartment in Portland. I'd been laid off from my warehouse gig, and I was down to like $112 in my checking account. No cap. Rent was due in 6 days, and I had nothing. Spent most of my time scrolling on TikTok and watching YouTube, trying not to think about it. One night, I'm browsing Reddit at like 2:30 a.m., just vibing with a Monster Energy in one hand, and my cat passed out next to me, when I ended up on this thread about weird jobs people got from sketchy websites. Someone mentioned they once got paid $5,000 to house sit a remote property in Montana for a week. Said it was through a guy they met on the dark web. I thought they were full of crap, but my curiosity got the better of me. I'd heard about the dark web, obviously. Watched a bunch of those animated horror channels on YouTube, like Here's My Story and Mr. Nightmare and all that. Creepy stuff, but most of it seemed exaggerated. Still, I remembered an old friend back in high school showed me how to access it once. Just needed Tor browser. So, yeah, I downloaded it. Now let me say this. Do not do what I did. Just don't. The dark web isn't some mysterious movie thing with hooded figures and code running down black screens. It's dead silent most of the time. Pages load slow. Most links are broken. It's boring until it's not. After maybe an hour of just poking around like an idiot, I found this forum. The design was super basic, just black and red text, called Off-Grid Ops. Sounded like some survivalist nonsense at first, but one thread caught my eye. It was titled, Remote Work, Isolation Ranger Needed, 6 weeks, High Pay, Discretion Required. I clicked it. The post was short, maybe 3 lines. Seeking able-bodied individual for isolated observation and wildlife patrol in protected Alaskan region. Must be comfortable with total solitude, extreme conditions, and limited communication. $25,000 for 6 weeks. Bonus upon completion. Non-disclosure required. It almost read like a military ad. The weird part, there were no replies, no bumps, no troll comments, just one upvote, and a contact email in a string of numbers and letters, ranger117@tutor.io. Now here's where I messed up. I emailed them. I didn't even think about it. Just wrote, "Hey, I'm interested in a ranger position. Can work immediately. Have outdoors experience. Please let me know the next steps." Did I have outdoors experience? Number. Not unless you count a 3-day camping trip with my ex, where we fought the whole time and I got poison ivy. But when you're broke and desperate, you'll do literally anything. I left my laptop open, walked to the 24-hour McDonald's near my apartment, grabbed a McChicken and some stale fries, came back, and there was already a reply. I opened the email, and it just said, "Send your full name, age, height, weight, and a recent photo. You'll receive a non-disclosure agreement and an itinerary. If you sign, you agree to the terms. No turning back. I should have stopped, but I didn't. My brain went full hustle mode. I thought maybe it was some eccentric billionaire testing people, like that Willy Wonka IRL guy on TikTok who gives people money to live in isolation or something. I sent them what they asked. The next day, I got a giant PDF with this crazy long NDA, legal sounding stuff, but also strange lines, stuff like, you agree to report any wildlife or non-animal sightings immediately. You must not interact with any previous rangers should they attempt contact. The organization is not responsible for psychological effects caused by prolonged exposure to Area 1-8. It didn't say who the organization was. It didn't mention the actual location in Alaska, just western region, approximately 60 miles from population. I skimmed, signed it digitally, and sent it back. My rent was due in 4 days. 2 days later, a package showed up at my door. No sender. Inside was a prepaid Visa card with $2,000 already loaded. I checked. A plane ticket to Bethel, Alaska. Some winter gear in my size. Like, exactly my size. And a burner phone with one contact saved. Handler. The flight left the next morning. I wish I could say I hesitated, that I had a gut feeling or something, but I didn't. I packed my stuff, texted my roommate that I was leaving town for a few weeks for work, and boarded the flight like a dumbass. Bethel was freezing, even in late August. No tourists, barely any buildings. I was picked up by a silent dude in a black Jeep with no license plates. He drove me 3 hours into what looked like the literal edge of the earth. No roads, just gravel and ice. At one point, I saw a gas station with a busted Starbucks sign out front and a rusted old totem pole next to it. Looked abandoned. The guy dropped me off at this old ranger station in the middle of nowhere. No neighbors, no radio, no Wi-Fi, just a solar battery, a two-way radio, a journal, and a rifle. Oh, and cameras, like at least 6 outdoor surveillance cams surrounding the perimeter. On the second night, I heard something outside, heavy, like boots crunching in the snow. I radioed it in like they told me to, and a voice came back saying, "Remain indoors. Do not acknowledge anything you see beyond the tree line. Do not open the door under any circumstances." I thought they were joking, but then I heard knocking, slow, rhythmic, not at the door, at the window, and when I looked, I swear to God, it was me, staring back at me. Same jacket, same beanie, same blank expression, just standing there, smiling. I backed away and locked the door. The knocking didn't stop until sunrise. I'm gonna pause here. I'll drop part 2 soon, but just know, whatever this job was, it wasn't about wildlife. They never told me who came before me, or why they all vanished, and I wasn't alone out there. By the third night, I hadn't slept more than an hour at a time. The cold wasn't what kept me up. It was the silence. It wasn't peaceful silence either. It was wrong. Like the air itself was holding its breath. The forest around me never made a sound. No birds, no insects, not even wind. Just nothing. And every night, around 2:11 a.m. exactly, I'd hear the footsteps, always pacing around the cabin, crunching softly in the snow. Slow, heavy, measured. I stopped looking out the window after the second night, but that didn't stop it from knocking. Now, I didn't mention this in part 1, because I didn't want to sound insane right off the bat. But there was something in the cabin that nobody told me about. Under the floorboards in the storage closet, there was a hatch. I found it by accident when I dropped a canned chili and it rolled into the closet. The floorboard under it made a hollow sound. I pried it open with a screwdriver, and there it was. A little trapdoor with rusted hinges and a padlock, already broken. I opened it. Inside was a ladder that led about 15 feet down into pitch black. No hesitation. I went down. I don't know what I expected to find down there. A storm shelter, maybe. But what I actually found, man, it felt like a crime scene that had been wiped clean. The air was humid, stale, like something had been rotting there long enough to leave a permanent stink, like it had soaked into the walls. There was one single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. When I pulled the cord, it flickered on, dim orange glow. The whole space couldn't have been more than 10 by 10 feet. Concrete walls, no furniture, no supplies. Just one thing sitting in the middle. A red leather notebook. It looked soaked through, like it had been dropped in water and dried in the sun. The pages were warped, some sticking together. I opened it. The first page just said, Ranger, 003, entry log. Do not write, only read. If you found this, they lied to you. My heart dropped. The rest of the pages were dated. The handwriting started off normal, clean, careful. But as the entries went on, it got worse. Like whoever wrote it was losing their mind. The third entry read, Night 2. Heard breathing in the crawl space above the cabin. There is no crawl space. Another. Night 5. Found dead moose outside. Its eyes were missing. Clean holes. No blood. Then, Night 9. Woman outside. Naked. Blue lips. Skin frostbitten black. Smiled at camera 4 for 43 minutes. Never blinked. She's in the woods again. Closer this time. And this one. Night 14. Woke up with dirt in my mouth. Footprints on floor. My boots still by the door. Tongue is numb. Taste of iron in my throat. I think they fed me something. At this point, I'm sitting in that concrete hole with my hands shaking. I flip to the final page. It's just a list. Do not respond to voices in the tree line. Do not open the door after 2 a.m. Do not acknowledge the other you. Destroy this book after reading. They cannot hear you if you stay very still. You are not the first. You will not be the last. Underneath that, in scrawled, almost scratched in writing, it said, There's a room below this room. My stomach flipped. I shined my flashlight around the corners of the room, and there it was. A small square vent behind the light bulb. Looked just big enough to crawl through. I should have gone back up the ladder. I should have closed the hatch. I should have quit the job and walked through the woods until something ate me. But instead, like a total dumbass, I crawled inside. The tunnel was maybe 6 feet long, tight, cold. The walls felt moist, like I was crawling through a throat. I didn't want to use my flashlight too much, in case the battery died, so I used my phone light instead. Eventually, it opened up into what I can only describe as a burial chamber. I swear to God, there were bones stacked in the corner, cleaned, bleached, some human, some not. Dozens, maybe hundreds. It smelled like burnt hair and iron and bleach. The air felt warmer down there somehow, more alive. And written on the walls, in some kind of ash or tar, were symbols, all spirals and jagged lines, like cult stuff. like the drawings you see in those backrooms YouTube videos, but this was real. On the far wall, in charcoal or dried blood, couldn't tell which, was a sentence repeated over and over. He watches from the white tree. Over and over. He watches from the white tree. He watches from the white tree. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't want to know. That night, night 4, I reviewed the camera footage on the old monitor in the station. At exactly 2:13 a.m., camera 2, facing the north tree line, showed movement. There was a figure, standing completely still, not walking, not approaching, just standing, head tilted, back arched unnaturally, as if all its bones were misplaced. It didn't have clothes, didn't even look fully human, more like a mannequin made of skin. Then camera 3 clicked on. There was a second one, closer to the cabin, standing in front of the camera. Its face was blurred, literally blurred, like someone smudged it in Photoshop, except this was live footage. You couldn't even tell if it had eyes or not. And then, camera 4, facing the back door. There was me, standing at the door, pale, expressionless, wearing the same clothes I had on, staring into the lens. Except I wasn't outside. I was in the cabin, watching the cameras. I turned off the monitor, sat in the dark for hours. I didn't even breathe, not deeply. Not after I heard 3 slow knocks on the back door. Not after the voice that sounded like my mother whispered, "Sweetie, it's freezing out here. Let mommy in." My mom died in 2017, car accident in Reno. I never opened the door. I tried to radio my handler the next morning. Static, just dead air. So I tried the burner phone. Nothing, no bars. Then, at around 11:45 a.m., I noticed the camera wires were cut. All of them. Something had circled the entire cabin and sliced them clean with something sharp, like a blade, not chewed, precision cuts. I checked the snow. No tracks, not even mine. Like the world had just forgotten how to leave a trace. On the morning of day 5, I woke up with blood on my pillow. Not a little. Like a lot. My nose wasn't bleeding. No cuts. But the blood was there, soaked through the fabric, sticky on my cheek. When I went to the bathroom mirror, my reflection didn't blink when I did. And when I opened my mouth, I swear there was something moving at the back of my throat, just for a second, like a black string pulling itself down. I vomited in the sink. It wasn't food. It was hair. Human hair. Black. Wet. Tangled. I kept pulling and pulling like a magician's scarf until it stopped. I didn't sleep at all after that. The notebook was gone. I left it under my bed when I went outside to chop firewood. When I came back, it wasn't there. Not even the floorboard creaked. Nothing out of place, except the smell. The cabin reeked of perfume. Cheap. Sweet. Like something a department store mannequin would wear. And scratched into the wall above my bed, in long, uneven lines, was the phrase, "Do not blink during the 6th night." I wish I could tell you I left, but the Jeep never came back. The road disappeared in a snowstorm that came out of nowhere. I tried walking out on the 6th day, using the compass they gave me. No matter which direction I walked, I came back to the cabin every time. And every time I returned, something else was missing. My gloves, my flashlight, the shotgun, the key to the hatch. And then I saw it, carved into the bark of the tree, directly across from the front door. A white handprint, not painted, not drawn, grown into the bark itself. Don't ask me how I'm still alive, because after what happened on the 6th night, I think Maybe I'm not. There's a feeling your body gets when it knows something is about to happen. A pressure in the chest. That dry tongue, heart fluttering, vision blurring kind of anxiety that turns seconds into minutes. Like your skin isn't attached anymore. Like your mind is watching your body from somewhere across the room. That's how the sixth night felt before it even started. I didn't eat, didn't speak, didn't check the cameras. They were all cut anyway. I just sat in the center of the cabin with the lights off, the doors locked, and the rifle in my lap. I thought maybe if I stayed still, whatever was out there wouldn't notice me. But it already had, and it didn't want me to hide. It wanted me awake. It wanted me looking. And worst of all, it wanted me to blink. Around 1:59 a.m., the air changed. Not cooled, not warmed. It shifted, like someone tilted the entire world 3 degrees to the left and didn't tell gravity to follow. My ears popped. The floor creaked, but nothing moved. And then I heard it again. My voice, coming from outside. It said, "Hey, come look. It's here." Except it wasn't a recording. It was me. Present tense, present tone, not an echo, not a memory. My voice sounded alive and wrong, like someone who practiced my cadence until they got it exactly right, but had never actually been human. I didn't move. I didn't speak, but my eyes were dry, and I knew what the notebook meant. Don't blink during the sixth night. The knocking started at exactly 2 a.m. Not on the door this time. Not even the windows. On the ceiling. The thing, the voice-wearing thing, had climbed onto the roof. It dragged something across the shingles. Something heavy. I could hear it scrape metal against metal like a rusted anchor. Then the whispering started, directly above me. "Look up. Look up. Look up. You want to. You need to. I'm in your eyes. You'll never be able to close them again." I clenched them shut, counted slowly, breathed through my nose. 2 minutes without blinking, I thought. You've done worse. Just keep them open. But then I saw it, through the reflection in the window. Not the thing on the roof, but something else, inside the cabin, standing directly behind me. My reflection in the glass showed 2 shadows, one sitting, one standing, and the standing one smiled. I didn't blink, even when it bent down beside me, even when I heard it inhale and exhale directly into my ear, like a rotted lung filled with mud and teeth, even when it said, "They always blink eventually." I bit into my tongue so hard I tasted blood. The pain helped. It kept me anchored, kept me present. I stared at the dead monitor on the wall and let the tears burn down my face. And then, without footsteps, without a whisper, it was gone. Or it pretended to be. The sun didn't rise until 8:11 a.m. that day. I stayed frozen until 8:12. Day 7. The walls started whispering, not metaphorically, not in that, "Oh, I'm losing my mind" way. Literally, audibly, constantly. They whispered names, locations, places I'd been before. Lincoln High School, the Wendy's on 43rd. Your mother's breath smells like the sea. Stuff no one would know unless they had lived inside my brain for years. I screamed at the walls, slammed my fists into them, cursed until my throat went dry. No response. Then, scratching from inside the walls. Then tapping. Then something crawled out of the stove vent in the kitchen. It wasn't human. It wasn't animal. It was like a baby bird made of bones and melted rubber. It dragged its body across the floor, twitching, making that choking, hissing sound like an old VHS tape trying to play a static channel. Its limbs were long and boneless, like empty gloves filled with milk. It had no face, just a hole where a head should be, ringed in jagged red cartilage. And as it slithered toward me, my legs didn't move. That was the worst part. Somewhere in my head, a voice whispered, "Don't scream. It'll multiply." So I didn't. I stood still as it crawled up my leg and pressed its head hole against my chest. It stayed there for 16 minutes. I know, because I watched the clock, and then it slipped back into the vent and disappeared. That was the last straw. I went into full panic mode, tore open every cabinet, looked for anything to defend myself beyond the rifle, which had one bullet left. I opened the freezer and found something I didn't notice before. A black Ziploc bag, no label, frozen solid. I cracked it open with the butt of the gun. Inside was a set of human teeth, adult molars, all upper row, all with blood still frozen into the roots. I opened the fridge. It was empty except for one jar. No label, just a handwritten word on the lid. "Yours." I didn't open it. I still don't know what was inside. Day 8. I stopped sleeping. I didn't trust what I'd see when I closed my eyes. The walls were now bleeding. Not fast, just little drips from the corners. Like the cabin itself was trying to sweat something out of its pores. I tried writing down what was happening. I found a pencil and a notebook in the drawer. Every time I wrote a sentence, the words would shift when I blinked. Like, "There's something under the cabin," would become, "There's something under your skin." Or, "I don't think I'm alone," would become, "I don't think you are you." Day 9, the forest started singing. At first, it sounded like wind, but no, it was voices, children's voices, singing some kind of old lullaby in a language I couldn't recognize. I opened the front door. Yes, I know what I said. Never open the door. But something made me. It was like something inside my own blood wanted to go outside. The snow was covered in handprints, not footprints, just prints of hands dragging through the white powder, as if dozens of people had crawled up to the porch and waited for hours. And there, at the base of the stairs, was a photo, a Polaroid, of me, sleeping, in my bed, from the angle of the ceiling. I tore it up and burned it, but even the ashes looked like faces when they floated away. Day 10. I found teeth in the sink again. This time, mine. One of my molars was missing from my jaw. No pain, no blood, just gone. I smiled at the mirror. My reflection didn't. And then, my reflection whispered something I'll never forget. Not because it was scary, but because it was true. It said, "We don't remember what happened to Ranger 003 because he's still here. Look closer." So I did. I lifted the old carpet in the corner, pulled up a floorboard, and found a boot, attached to a skeleton, still wearing a name tag. 003, Grant S. He had a bullet hole through his temple. The rifle he used? Same one they gave me. Same one I still held in my hand. That night, I heard footsteps in the walls, saw shadows pass across the windows, even though all the lights were off. The air buzzed with static, like a dying TV channel, like an old VHS burning itself alive. I turned on my phone to check the date. No service. But the calendar app, it didn't say August anymore. It said day 437. I'd only been there 10 days. Right? Right? They lied about the job. They lied about the cameras. They lied about the forest. And worst of all, they lied about leaving. At this point, reality wasn't something I trusted anymore. Time wasn't real. Distance wasn't real. Even my own body started feeling like something I rented instead of owned. Every breath felt like it belonged to someone else. I hadn't slept in maybe 80 hours, or maybe I was asleep the whole time. I don't know. But on what should have been day 11, I discovered the room with no door, and that's when things got bad. Really bad. The kind of bad that doesn't leave bruises on your body. It peels pieces off your soul. It started with the floor humming. Not like a motor, not like a heater. This was low, organic. Felt like something deep beneath the cabin was purring, or breathing. I moved the rug aside. The same spot where I'd found the skeleton of Ranger 003, Grant, was warm. Not warm, like heated. Warm, like alive. So I did what any idiot in a horror movie would do. I smashed the floorboards in, pried them loose one by one until I found what looked like a seam. A perfect outline of a trapdoor, I swear, wasn't there before. There was no handle, just a faint handprint in the wood, as if someone pressed their palm into it from underneath. I put my hand over it. Click. The boards opened by themselves. There was no ladder, no stairs, just a black square, and a rope, hanging from the ceiling above the hole, like a butcher's hook with twine. I don't remember deciding to go down there. I just remember waking up at the bottom. The air was thicker down there, not musty, not moldy, wet, like the walls had lungs. The floor wasn't dirt or concrete. It was flesh, with pores, with veins. The entire tunnel looked grown instead of built, like someone had fed it wood and blood and let it bloom underground. I walked until I saw the door, except it wasn't a door. It was a window, standing upright in the tunnel. No walls around it, just an antique-looking window frame with glass hanging in the middle of the path. Beyond it, a room, a real room, fully furnished, wooden floors, green velvet couch, a dusty piano, old-style wallpaper with repeating patterns of eyes. There was no door, just the window, hanging in the tunnel like it was cut and pasted out of another reality. And inside that room was a man, or something shaped like one. He stood in the far corner, motionless, tall, skin sagging like he'd been dipped in boiling water and dried in the cold. His eyes were missing, just two deep sockets filled with something shiny. I don't know how, but I knew. He could see me. He didn't move. He didn't speak, but his mouth twitched like he was trying to hold in a laugh. I watched for maybe 30 seconds before I blinked, and he moved, just one step forward. His legs didn't bend. They stretched, like rubber wrapped over broken bones. I stepped back. He stepped forward, again. I turned to run, but there was nowhere to run. The tunnel behind me had closed. I turned back, and now he was pressed against the glass. No footsteps, no noise, just a stretched, rotting face with a toothless mouth and empty sockets, grinning. And written in fog on the other side of the window were 4 words: "You've already been here." I don't remember climbing back up. I just remember the cabin lights flickering when I came to. The window was gone. The hatch was sealed again. And on the table, where there was nothing before, now sat a new object. A Polaroid camera and a stack of photos. Every photo was of me. Different poses, different clothes, different times. Some were me brushing my teeth. Some were me sleeping, Some were me smiling at the camera, but none of them were photos I'd ever taken. And the worst part, in the background of every photo, hidden in shadows, in reflections, in doorways, was the same man. No eyes, no teeth, just watching. And in the last photo in the stack, the one on top, I wasn't in the cabin. I was outside, standing under a white tree. Remember when I told you about that phrase written all over the bunker wall? He watches from the white tree. Yeah, that tree is real. And somehow, I had already been there. Later that day, I went outside, not to escape. I knew by now there was no way out. I just wanted to confirm something. And sure enough, about 300 feet from the cabin, buried in snow up to its lowest branches, was a massive, dead tree. Bark bleached white, roots exposed like cracked ribs. No other trees around it. Just a perfect clearing, like the forest itself was scared of it. And hanging from its branches, clothes, ranger uniforms, dozens of them, torn, bloody, empty. And higher up, way higher, near the top, something moved. A leg, thin, long, bent backward, then an arm, then another, and then something started crawling down the trunk head first. I didn't wait, didn't breathe, didn't scream, just ran until the snow turned red. I didn't know from what, until I realized I had bite marks all up my left arm, deep, human, fresh. I blacked out again and woke up in the cabin, handcuffed to the radiator. No idea how long I'd been there. The radio was on, but instead of voices, it played a recording of me, screaming, crying, begging, laughing, for hours, just looping over and over, until a new sound cut in. A voice, one I hadn't heard before. It said, "Ranger 009. You've reached phase 3. Skin erosion begins soon. Please remain hydrated. Your bones will be needed." Then it clicked off. What phase? What bones? I looked down and saw that my fingernails were gone. Not torn off. Not broken. Just absent. Like they were never there to begin with. My skin had started to peel in perfect spirals. Like someone was unwrapping me from the inside, and the shadows in the cabin weren't mine anymore. They moved too slow, too wrong. They watched me, and one of them smiled back. I know now what the cabin is. I know what they're trying to make. It's not a job. It's not an experiment. It's a factory, and we're the raw materials. I used to think trauma was a scar, like something your body or mind stitched up after the bleeding stopped. But this place doesn't leave scars. It leaves open doors. And once you've seen what's behind them, you never get to close them again. I don't remember breaking the handcuffs. I don't remember how I got out of the cabin. I just remember waking up standing knee-deep in snow, staring at something that should not exist. The white tree. Again. Only this time, it was closer. I don't mean I walked there. I mean it moved. The roots had torn up the ground around it, dragging itself forward like some ancient, starving creature. Its branches writhed like tendrils, twitching when the wind wasn't blowing, and nailed to its trunk, with actual railroad spikes, were faces. Hundreds. Some fresh, some decayed, some just skin, stretched like masks with the eyes still open. Every face was smiling, and beneath the tree, half buried in frozen mud, was a door, like a basement bulkhead, rusted, red, bolted shut from the outside. A chain of rotted fingers twisted through the handles, locking it closed. I knew whatever was behind that door was the source, the heart, the engine behind all of it. So I did what no sane person would do. I broke the fingers, each one cracked like celery, snapping apart in brittle, cold silence. Some of them twitched when I touched them, like they still remembered what it felt like to be part of a hand. When the chain fell loose, the door groaned, and then it opened from the inside. I won't describe the smell. You couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. It wasn't rot. It wasn't death. It was memory. It smelled like the worst moments of your life, all at once. The inside of your childhood bedroom, after your parents fought all night. The floor of a funeral home. The shirt you never washed after your dog died. All of it, boiling inside your lungs. The room below the tree wasn't a room. It was a hive. No walls, just pulsing flesh, like a stomach or a womb stretched wider than it should have been able to stretch. Veins as thick as fire hoses pulsed through the ceiling. The floor was covered in skin, not carpet, skin. And embedded in that floor, like decorations, were people, or what was left of them. Some were just heads, some were split in half, some were still moving, their eyes locked on me, their mouths sewn shut. I recognized one of them, the guy from the Jeep, the one who dropped me off. His torso was impaled on a spike made of jawbones, and something was still whispering through his mouth. Not his voice. Something using his mouth like a tunnel, like a puppet. No, Amariah shifts. His eyes rolled back. Something pulled on the skin of his throat, like a sock being peeled. And then, I saw it. The machine. That's the only word I have for it. It wasn't gears or motors. It was biological. A tower made of stitched together torsos and ribs, spinning slowly in the center of the chamber. Arms dangled from its top like antennae. Hands typed constantly on typewriters embedded in its side. Hands that weren't connected to anything, just floating and clicking, endlessly. Every time they finished typing a page, the machine vomited it out, straight from a mouth sewn into its base. The pages would drop into a pool of blood, and the pool would burn them. Sizzle. Gone. And the next would come. I got close enough to read one. Just one. The paper was made of skin. The letters were carved in blood. It said, Ranger 0, 10, incomplete. Bones received, 189. Nerves. Partial voice. Taken memories. Non-compliant status. Retrieve final layer. Then the page curled, and the blood pool swallowed it whole. I turned to run, and that's when the alarm went off. Not a sound, not a siren, just a change in the room. The walls began to peel, like orange skin, strips of flesh curling off, revealing faces underneath. Thousands, all laughing, mouths wide, tongues bloated, teeth black. The voices came from the walls now, not whispers, screams, all in unison. Get back to work, get back to work, get back to work. The floor opened under me, and I fell. I fell for days, to memories that weren't mine, flashes of faces being torn off, of a ranger eating his own fingers, one joint at a time, of a cabin on fire while someone sang lullabies in a child's voice from the basement, of my own face stitched to the front of a deer, of a McDonald's bathroom stall in Anchorage filled with missing posters, every one of them me, different ages, different years. Have you seen this person? Last seen 1997, last seen 2012, last seen 2034. Then, nothing, just the cold. I woke up in the cabin, again, but something was different. The air was clean, the walls weren't bleeding, the cameras worked, the radio was static free, and the date on the calendar said, Day 1. The door opened, and a new ranger walked in, younger than me. Fresh boots, new pack, wide eyes. He looked at me and smiled. You're the one training me, right? And that's when I realized I wasn't leaving. Ever. They don't just kill you here. They don't even let you die. They turn you into part of the system. They skin your memories. They carve your voice into the walls. They hollow you out and wear you like a uniform for the next unlucky soul. I'm not Ranger 010 anymore. I'm just the shift before you. If you're reading this, if this post somehow made it out, you might be thinking this is fiction, a story, something to laugh at over Discord or YouTube. A fun, here's my story moment to tell your friends. But it's not, because you just read it, and that means you've seen it. And if you've seen it, he knows where to find you. Good luck, Ranger 011. Your shift starts now.